What's up, everybody, and welcome to Star Wars Analyzed. Today we're going to get into Aftermath, the first book in a trilogy written by Chuck Wendig. On September 4th, 2014, Mr. Wendig tweeted his interest in writing a Star Wars book. The tweet picked up enough steam to make Lucasfilm Storage Group take notice. Reports are that Aftermath was written in a blisteringly fast 45 days. Originally, Aftermath was slated to be released in November of 2015, but instead, Aftermath came out on September 4th, 2015, better known to Star Wars fans as Force Friday, the day when a bunch of new Star Wars merchandise was made available for sale. Whether because of marketing reasons or Wendig's own frenetic writing speed, Aftermath hit shelves well ahead of schedule, 1 year to the day after his tweet. Let's get into Aftermath's pages. I am issuing a spoiler alert from here on in. Aftermath is an oddly complicated piece of work which takes place immediately after Return of the Jedi and some 30 years before the currently unreleased movie, The Force Awakens. The book is primarily about an Imperial leadership summit on the backwater Outer Rim world of Akiva. Admiral Ray Sloan notifies the other Imperial leadership of the enigmatic Fleet Admiral's death. She calls Moff Valko Pandion, General Jilia Shale, banker Arson Crassus, and advisor Yup Tashu to Akiva to form the Imperial Future Council to discuss the future of the Empire. It is this blockaded world of Akiva that serves as the backdrop for most of Aftermath's plot. Wedge Antilles happens upon Ray Sloan's capital ship over Akiva and is captured, but not before he sends out a short-range transmission requesting help from any New Republic sympathizers in and around Akiva. Nora Wexley is an Alliance pilot and veteran of the battle over Endor. She just happened to be returning to her home planet of Akiva as the Imperials just began arriving. Nora and her son Temin and his custom B-1 battle droid Mr. Bones team up with a Zabrak bounty hunter known as Jaz Amari and an ex-Imperial loyalty officer named Sanjir. Together, this unlikely family strive to interfere with the Empire's plans and attempt to rescue Wedge from Ray Sloan and the Future Council's clutches. We are not confined to the activity on Akiva. We are repeatedly offered a glimpse of how Admiral Akbar and the Alliance fleet react to Wedge's disappearance. In these chapters, we are introduced to a suspicious and shadowy informant who calls himself the Operator, who helps prod the Alliance to action regarding the meeting on Akiva, seemingly for his own reasons. The reader is also allowed several visits to Chandrila, capital of the New Republic Senate. There, we meet up with Olea, Mon Mothma's personal assistant, and are treated to contrasting governing styles of the New Republic versus the Empire. Although Aftermath is mainly confined to those few storylines, the reader is also offered one-time glimpses of many worlds across the Star Wars galaxy. From Terrace to Jakku, Tatooine to Bespin, the book really tries to open itself up to stories and narratives from other planets across the galaxy. And while the idea is interesting on paper, the multitude of unresolved storylines that actually ended up frustrating me almost more than they perked my interest. I guess I should hope that the next book in the Aftermath trilogy helps fill in some of these unresolved plots. The novel is filled with betrayal, power grabs, conspiracy, loyalty forgone, and duty standing firm. I bought the book all set to love it. I was willing to forgive a lot of problems in exchange for finding out what happened after the destruction of the second Death Star. Aftermath delivered on its promise of telling us what happened in the weeks following the Emperor's death. However, I was expecting the story to be more entertaining than it was, and ultimately I closed the book feeling disappointed. The author chose to write this novel in the present tense, which was awkward to read and was obviously the wrong choice of tense to use in a book which takes place, quote, a long time ago. Not only was this choice of tense problematic, but the overuse of simile and metaphor proved hit or miss, mostly miss. For example, when Sanjir is revealed as being an ex-Imperial, Nora cries out, I should have known! You didn't carry yourself like one of us, too superior, too nose at the sky, that accent too, crisp like a bitten cracker. That just stuck out at me as being something no one says when they're upset. Bitten crackers? What? Another example of weird and cringy writing is when a downed rebel pilot is talking smack to a young Imperial officer holding a gun at him. You're young, like a baby wilk calf. Don't know a wilk? I grew up on a farm. Long-legged critters. Meat tastes stringy, but the milk's good. And their babies are clumsy, fumbling things. Knock-kneed and dumb as a box of retainer bolts. You're just a baby. All I could think as I read this passage was any Imperial would have most likely squeezed his trigger as soon as this rebel started waxing poetic about the stringiness of his farm animal's meat. The writing just seemed so forced, like the author knew he wanted the reader to compare the Imperial accents to bitten crackers, or he wanted the reader to know that the rebel pilot came from a farm, but he couldn't find a way to organically get these points across, so they were just kind of shoveled haphazardly into dialogue that didn't need these points and were all ultimately burdened by them. So, present tense prose with too many cringy metaphors, coupled with storylines that were seriously undeveloped and unrelated to the plot of Akiva, all factored into my score of the book. Aftermath receives 1.5 Wookie Cookies out of 5. The book needed a lot more work in editing, and maybe a full rewrite was in order. If the talk of a 45-day write time is true, then I think Wendig and the editor had plenty of time to get the book right. I say read this book if you're a Star Wars completist like me, but don't expect a very polished or fulfilling read. I did enjoy some parts of the book, like the unlikely family sense that the rebel group on Akiva radiated. I also liked the revelatory twist at the end of the novel. For Aftermath's sequel, hopefully Mr. Wendig will not feature so many unrelated storylines, and instead focus on a few core narratives to thoroughly intertwine, so when the end comes, the reader is not holding so many loose threads. So I'll briefly detail what happens on all the other worlds in Star Wars Aftermath. Seleucamai, we see a family fractured by galactic politics. Terrace, we find out that there are factions in the galaxy collecting Sith artifacts. Coronet City, Corellia, we meet up with the bounty hunter Dengar and Mercurial Swift as they talk about the future of bounty hunters. Severkos, Imperial slaves are freed. Nalal, Mon Mothma tells her advisors that she will be reducing the New Republic's military. Coruscant, the planet's surface is under Imperial control, but down on the level 1313, Jack, of the Ankle-Biter Brigade, strives to take the Empire down from within. Theed, Naboo, various members of the Ankle-Biter Brigade's orphans are offered for adoption. Cloud City, Bespin, Lando hires pirates who retake Cloud City. Tatooine, Jawas have found Mandalorian battle armor. It's covered in acid stains, and it looks like it's, quote, been to hell and back. Jakku, a man is trying to escape the war by hiding on Jakku, and the bartender promises to buy the man drinks for life if the war ever comes to Jakku. Han and Chewbacca. Han and Chewie get intel saying that the Imperial-controlled Wookiee home planet of Kashyyyk is open for picking because most of the Imperials are off-world for a summit. That's going to wrap up my review of Star Wars Aftermath. I'd like to thank Balsavor and Unusual Suspects for the use of their art. Please check out their pages in the description. And I'd also like to announce the launch of Star Wars Analyzed Twitch account. Follow the link in the description or search Star Wars Analyzed, all one word, on Twitch if you want to join in the fun while we play all kinds of Star Wars games, old and new. I've got several projects on the way, so hit the like button and subscribe, and please comment on which Star Wars EU novel you'd like to see me review next. Thanks, guys, and remember that if Jar Jar goes back to the Gungan City, they'll do terrible things to him.